Hey guys, welcome back to Tiffany's TVscape. And if you're new here, thanks for joining me. Today I'm reacting to the teaser trailer for It Welcome to Derry, which is a upcoming HBO Max show about none other than Pennywise. Now, this show was mentioned, I want to say maybe a couple years ago. It's been quite a while. And I personally wasn't hearing much about it, so I thought maybe it's not going to happen, but apparently it is because we got a trailer to watch. So before I get into my reaction, make sure you're subscribed to my channel so that you don't miss out when I upload. Give this video a thumbs up so I know you enjoy this type of content, and leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about this trailer, and do you plan on watching this show? I really want to get into my love of it. Not the character, but the story itself. But I think I'm going to save that for after the trailer so I can discuss after, we see what's going to happen. Okay, you guys, let's get into it. Let's get into it.
You poor thing. Get in before you catch your death of cold.
Now you just tell us where home is, and we'll get you back to your parents safe and sound, okay?
Anywhere but Derry.
Things that happened in the past.
My family and I just moved to town.
Oh.
Hey, baby.
Happened in your mind.
Today was 4 months, and they never even found a body. That means murder.
This business with the missing kids. Do I need to be concerned?
Mm-hmm.
Never a bad idea to keep the people you love close.
No adult's ever gonna believe what we saw. I wouldn't.
There's a history of stuff like this happening in Derry.
You kids keep your noses out of police business.
I heard voices. In the pipes.
Have you ever heard of something like that?
Oh, absolutely not.
There's something bad here in Derry.
Okay, so let's talk about it. Okay, so one of the most exciting things about this series is that they actually got Bill Skarsgård to reprise his role as Pennywise, which I think is pretty cool. Um, I remember during the press for the first one, he talked about how grueling this role was, which makes sense because it requires a lot of physicality. So after the movies, I really didn't think that he would ever want to come back to this role. So the fact that they got him to do this, I think is pretty cool. I don't know how it would have been if they would have gotten someone else to try to play Pennywise. So I'm really glad that they got Bill because Bill is such a good actor anyway. Now, how much of Pennywise we're going to see in the series, I don't know. I feel like that's kind of part of what makes it so scary, like when we don't really see him, but we know he's like lurking in the shadows. So I feel like it probably won't be like too much of him. I don't know because this is a series and not like the movies. So I know things are going to be different, but that's kind of what I'm interested in too, to see how much he's actually going to be in the series and how much of him that we're actually going to see. Or if they're kind of just going to rely on the thrill of like, Pennywise is there, but he's just not showing himself yet type of thing. The other thing I really like about this too is that it looks like most of the child actors are pretty unknown. I mean, for me personally, like wasn't really anybody in there that I was like, oh, that's so and so from, like, you know what I mean? Like there was nobody casted that is really popular, and I felt like for this type of series and for this type of show, because the show is so dark and grueling and just gritty and horrible, I don't know. I feel like it's almost better to find actors that we don't really know about, Just because for me personally, sometimes when you get somebody who's too popular or too well known, it kind of takes you out of the story because you're like, well, I can't really see them as this character because they're such and such, right? So I'm glad that they did that with this. But I'm not saying that these actors haven't been in other things, or that they don't have previous works. But for me personally, like there's nobody in here that I was like, oh my god, that's so and so. So I'm actually glad that they did that. Now, my concern with this series is, again, this is a teaser trailer, so I don't know. I'm just assuming, but it kind of looks like they're trying to give us a knockoff version of the Losers Club. Hear me out. Hear me out. It's a group of kids. It looks like there's going to be one main black kid in it, and then there's like one girl with all the boys. It's giving very much Beverly Marsh. It's giving Mike Hanlon. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Like, I understand that the story is going to focus on kids because Pennywise goes after kids the most. Um, and that's just very Stephen King, especially during this time that like he wrote these types of stories. Like a lot of his old stories were really centered around like a group of kids or like, themes of friendship and things like that. So that's very Stephen King esque, so I'm not surprised by that. And I feel like it makes the most sense. But I'm also like, do they really need to resemble the Losers Club though? I feel like we should do something different because, again, for me personally, I feel like the Losers Club that they had in the first movie is not going to be outdone in this series. I could be totally wrong. Maybe I'll come back to this after the show is out and be like, oh my God, I love the kids. Like, they're so much better. But I just feel like what they did with the first movie is like, you know, is up there for me. And I think too, after watching the movies, I felt really connected to each character, specifically the Losers Club and just the bond and the friendship that they have. I mean, I could talk about that for hours. Like, um, I haven't read the novel in full because it's so freaking long. The book is like this big. I have an actual physical copy of it. I start it and I stop. It's really bad. And then I have to go back and try to like reread from the beginning. So I've never gotten through the full story, but there's like things that I know that happen in the novel that are obviously different from the films. And that's also different from the original 90s version with Tim Curry. But all the like the lore of this whole story is really, really interesting to me. Um, so I feel like they have that there. It's just like, do we really need another Losers Club? Because it's not going to be the same. I think what they could do with this is instead of trying to emulate another Losers Club, that they could kind of give a nod to the movies by maybe including some of the losers' parents. So like a younger Sonia, or like Bill's parents, or even like Mike's grandpa, or something like that. Like people that have clearly been in Derry for a really long time, right? And seeing these characters when they were younger and them having like the same last name, so that way we know as an audience like, oh, that's Eddie's mom, or um that's Stan's dad, or something like that. I feel like if they do something like that would be pretty cool. um but yeah, that's like my only concern and my only kind of criticism, and it's really not like a full criticism because this is just a teaser, and my assumption could be wrong. Either way, I'm excited that the show has actually come to life and that we're actually getting it. I plan on watching it. You guys let me know in the comments if you plan on watching it. If you're a fan of Stephen King, if you're a fan of it, let me know. Oh, and definitely tell me which loser is your favorite. My favorite is Eddie Kaspbrak. RIP to my main man. He deserves so much better. One of the other things I really love about this, the fact that they're turning the story into a series, is that I think there's so much more potential to tell more of the story. Kind of what I was saying before, like how you have the original source material with the novel, and then you have the two films, and you have the 90s version. And I feel like you can pull from either one of those. Um, I feel like it would be best to pull from the novel just because that's what was originally wrote. Obviously, I feel like things will be changed for creative purposes and because it's a TV show, but it's also HBO, and HBO is known to show pretty much everything. So I feel like they could get really gritty and gory with it if they want to. I guess we'll see. I don't know. I feel like they could take it there if they really want to. But I think now that we have a series, and I'm assuming that each episode is probably going to be like an hour long, you'll really be able to get more of a backstory into Pennywise, And because this is going to be set in the 60s, so obviously like pre-Losers Club, this is like 20 years before the Losers Club was even a thing, or before they were even born. um, you'll get to kind of see history of Derry, like the town itself. And I feel like a lot of that, especially with Pennywise, wasn't really explained well in the film, just because like there was so much that was trying to um there was so much that had to be fit into the films in like 2 to 3 hours that just couldn't. It was like if you didn't know the original story, then you missed out on a lot, right? Specifically with the second one, because they were trying to give you a backstory on Pennywise, but then they were also focusing on the losers as adults and the things that they had been going through, and trying to focus on like each one, and then also like the big battle at the end was like this huge long scene. So I feel like that was kind of hard for them to try to show what all like Pennywise really is, and where he comes from, and how long he's actually been in Derry, like literally forever. Like you could just keep going back thousands and thousands of years and keep telling stories of like the things that Pennywise has done. So I think this will be interesting. I know some people in the fandom are kind of like, I have mixed feelings about them turning this into a series, but either way, I feel like it'll be interesting to watch and see what they do with it. Thank you guys so much for tuning into my reaction, and I hope you enjoy this. Stay tuned for the next one. I'll see you guys later. Bye.